So we've been talking a lot about the different parables of Jesus this past week, and today is not going to be any different. Today we're talking about the parable of the Great Feast. I think a lot of Christians are familiar with this parable. It talks about a great feast being hosted by a king as a wedding banquet for his prince son, and he invites multiple guests over to come and enjoy it, but the guests he originally invites reject him, so he goes out and invites everyone else in the kingdom to show up to the feast. Now, it's generally understood that the prince is Jesus, the bride is the church, and the people being invited, the wedding guests, are a combination of the church, or people being invited into the church, and also the rest of the world, who either is coming to the wedding or is not. But I think there's a certain aspect about this parable that a lot of times gets overlooked or missed. See, in Matthew 22, starting in verse 11, we have this addition to the end of the parable. But when the king came in to meet the guests, he noticed a man who wasn't wearing proper clothes for the wedding. "Friend," he asked, "how is it that you are without wedding clothes?" But the man had no reply. Then the king said to his aides, "Bind his hands and feet and throw him into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen." What I think is important to notice here is that this is somebody who attended the wedding. In other words, this is somebody who received the invitation and accepted it. So if the analogy is that people who accept the wedding are invited into the kingdom of heaven, shouldn't this person also be able to enter the kingdom of heaven? Well, notice what the problem is with this person. They're not wearing the right clothes. This does not mean that you have to wear some sort of proper attire or clothing to get into heaven, but the idea is that this person was not prepared to enter this wedding or enter the kingdom of heaven. And so the clothes must be something else, a lack of preparedness. And I think what Jesus is getting at here is a lack of preparedness of the heart. It is the idea that you are not behaving or acting in a way that suits the calling that you say you've accepted. In other words, you say that you are part of the Church of God, you say you believe in Jesus, but you don't act that way. You don't have a reformed heart, you don't really have a changed mind, you are not spiritually in a position to accept the invitation that God has given you. And I think this can be a very dangerous spot that a lot of people need to be wary of, but I also think that if you are wary of this and you are concerned about whether or not your salvation is in jeopardy, you're probably doing a little bit better than most. Nevertheless, it's an important lesson to learn, and one that Jesus certainly felt the need to attach to the end of this parable. But let me know what your thoughts are, and I'll see you tomorrow.